This is Kim Speedy from 10 Sigma. Welcome to the 100th episode of Transition Tuesday. Over the years, we've covered a lot of important transition topics, but today, in my opinion, we'll be covering one of the most important topics, which is the difference between a special education teacher and a transition teacher. Right now, I'm going to switch over to a short slide presentation to share this information.
In today's video, I will be explaining the different roles of both special education teachers and transition teachers, how colleges or universities are preparing these teachers, why it is important to know the difference, and what transition teachers need to learn about, know, and implement in order to be an effective transition teacher. The definition of a special education teacher, according to Sakanu, is someone who works with children and youths who have a variety of disabilities. Children with special needs require unique instruction by specially trained professionals to help them achieve their highest potential and strive to progress beyond their limitations. According to Patton, a transition teacher goes beyond helping students improve their disability area into the realm of preparing students for adult life. This means assessing students in three areas: academic needs, functional performance, and career interests. It also means guiding students to identify their goals for life after high school in three areas: education, employment, and independent living. Now let's talk about the requirements and preparation of colleges or universities for special education teachers. Remembering that transition is not a special education licensure in itself, but the licensure is in the areas of the disabilities. So special education requirements in all states call for a teacher to be licensed in order to teach at a public school. Traditional and online bachelor degree programs in special education require coursework in methods, foundations of education, assessment, assistive technology, special education law, and planning and curriculum focused on the special needs of a specific disability. As we all know, special education licensure is in a disability area. So what are college prep courses currently teaching about transition? Most undergrad and licensure programs range from a discussion in a class to a unit on transition. Very few have a required course devoted to teaching transition. A few colleges offer a graduate program in the area of transition, and some colleges offer work-based learning certificates, but special education licensure is also required for these certificates. Now that we've talked about the definition of special education teachers versus transition teachers, and the requirements and preparation for these teachers, let's talk about the role of the special education teacher. While the goal is to support all students in reaching their adult potential that leads them to live an independent and happy life, the role of the transition teacher is very different than the special education teacher. The special education teacher helps students acquire the basics, academics, and social-emotional, to improve skills in their disability area by teaching the 3 R's of academics: reading, writing, and math. They also teach social etiquette, things like please and thank you, and taking turns, and emotional control, for example, keeping hands and feet to self, and following directions appropriately. On the other hand, the role of the transition teacher is to continue to help students acquire the basics, along with developing a coordinated set of transition activities that guide students to reach meaningful post-secondary goals in education and training, employment, and independent living by understanding and considering their options, determining their post-secondary goals, making a plan to take ownership to reach their post-secondary goals, and by developing their life and employment skills to secure gainful employment, participate in the community, advocate for themselves, and live as independent as possible. As you can see, the role of the special education teacher changes if the teacher is teaching transition age students. The major differences is that the special education teacher teaches skill needs that the students are lacking in disability areas. The transition teacher continues to work on the skill needs of the students, but their main focus changes to guiding students through their transition process. There are two areas in teaching transition age students that the teacher needs to be proficient in order to be an effective teacher. The first one is compliance. This means the teacher needs to know, understand, and use Indicator 13. The major components are age-appropriate transition assessments, measurable post-secondary goals, connecting with outside agencies available in your area, which is called agency linkages in the IEP, a coordinated set of activities, transition services, courses of study, and transition annual goals, and age of majority. For guidance on any of these topics, please refer back to past episodes of Transition Tuesday in 10 Sigma's Transition Tuesday library. The second area the teacher needs to be proficient in order to be an effective transition teacher is transition best practices. This is really the key to the students learning to advocate for themselves and take ownership throughout their transition process, which will mean that they are better prepared for their adult life. One best practice is for the teacher, to the best of each student's ability, guide the student before the IEP meeting to complete a functional assessment, conduct research, complete activities, and have discussions with adults to learn about their post-secondary goal options, and participate in identifying or updating post-secondary goals based on exploration. Also, before the IEP meeting, the teacher needs to guide the students to meet with the guidance counselor or transition teacher to identify courses that help reach their post-secondary goals, and to share their post-secondary goals with parents or another teacher or trusted adult who is in support of the young adult if they are at age of majority. Another important transition best practice is, again, to the best of the student's ability, for the transition teacher to guide students during the IEP meeting to present their proposed post-secondary goals and what they did to identify them, share the courses they are or will be taking, discuss the research, activities, and tasks for the next year, and answer questions from the IEP team members during the IEP meeting. This next best practice is one that many times is overlooked, but is very important for the student to have a meaningful transition process. It is for teachers to guide students after the IEP meeting to learn about their disabilities, rights, services, accommodations, and modifications. To develop a list of activities and tasks needed to reach their post-secondary goals. To develop a timeline for completing the activities and tasks during the IEP year, and to meet with their teacher and parents to share their progress at least once. Here are important additional best practices transition teachers need to do. Teach soft skills to help students be gainfully employed. Teaching appropriate health management, safety, and technology skills. And teaching students to advocate for their wants, needs, and desires by requesting appropriate accommodations, using the summary performance as a reference to help them navigate the adult world, and identifying supports available to them as an adult. For today's bonus, I'll be sending you information and 2 great resources from 10 Sigma and NASDAQ for transition teachers.
Thank you for watching the video. I hope you use this information to better understand the important role of a transition teacher and to prepare your students for their transition to adult life. Be sure to check your email for the bonus we just sent over. If this is the first time you've ever seen an episode of Transition Tuesday, click the link below to receive the bonus. Be sure to like and share the video and leave a comment or suggestion for a future episode of Transition Tuesday. Have a great week. See you next Tuesday.